Am I the antagonist because I didn't want to split the bill evenly? My group of friends and I, consisting of 7 girls in total, are spending the weekend together. Yesterday we went to a winery. Personally, I'm not a big fan of wine, unlike some of the other girls in the group who thoroughly enjoy it. As a result, I only ordered 2 glasses of wine. Meanwhile, the other girls ordered multiple grosses, 1L, bottles of wine, wine flights, and multiple glasses. We also shared some appetizers. Before the bill arrived, I expressed that I didn't want to pay for all of their wine, given that I had only consumed my 2 glasses. However, when the bill came, my friend informed everyone that they each owed $75. I reminded her once again that I didn't want to cover the cost of the wine they had ordered. In a condescending tone, she responded, "Oh, I didn't realize we were like that. It's strange not to split the bill, but okay." I must admit that I'm sensitive to rejection and shame, and it was evident to everyone at the table that this situation was uncomfortable, and my friend was genuinely annoyed. While they went to the outside bar, I stayed in the main building for a while to compose myself and avoid causing a scene. However, once we returned home, she passive-aggressively brought up the incident saying, "Yeah, since my name doesn't want to pay the bill." It was at this point that I stood up for myself and asked why it bothered her so much that I didn't want to pay for drinks I hadn't consumed. She essentially stated that she just finds it peculiar to go out with a group and not evenly split the bill. She spoke in a condescending tone toward me throughout the conversation. I informed her that it's fine for her to hold that opinion, but it's not acceptable for her to make me feel bad about it or shame me in front of others. Despite this, she continued to insist that she finds it weird and that I do this all the time. However, over the past 3 days, we had gone out to eat multiple times, and I had no problem splitting the bill evenly since everyone shared everything or most things on those occasions. She then turned to another girl in the group and asked, "I think it's weird, don't you?" To which the other girl replied, "Yeah, it is." This made me feel alienated and embarrassed, and I began to feel emotional. I acknowledge that I'm an emotional person, which brings me shame because I tend to be around individuals who are the complete opposite. I understand that people have different opinions and manners, but I disagree with shaming others simply because you don't agree with them. To provide some context, I grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment with a 4-person family, relying on food stamps for a while. Additionally, I work in healthcare and earn the least amount of money compared to all my friends who have higher-paying corporate jobs. So, am I in the wrong for speaking up about not wanting to pay for all of my friends' wine at the winery when I only had 2 glasses? It is understandable that you did not want to pay for drinks that you did not consume, especially considering your financial situation and the fact that you only had 2 glasses of wine while others had multiple rounds. Your friend's condescending tone and subsequent shaming were unnecessary and hurtful. It is important to respect each other's choices and preferences when it comes to splitting bills, especially in situations where not everyone partakes in certain activities or orders. Am I the antagonist for belittling my sister and saying she shouldn't demand her husband help with their baby at night? My husband and I, both in our late 20s, went through the surrogacy process and had our son 4 months ago. We were thrilled when my sister, who is 31, announced her pregnancy. It turned out that we would be having children around the same time, as our niece was born a little over 2 months after our son. Our situations are quite similar. Both our husbands work regular 9-to-5 jobs with commutes of around 30 to 45 minutes. My sister is a stay-at-home mom, while I work freelance from home. In the first 2 weeks after our son was born, during which my husband took time off work, we would both take turns with night shifts. Once I felt more comfortable with being a parent, I offered to take over on weeknights while my husband would handle mornings before work and weekends. It made sense to me, considering that my husband had to leave for work, wake up at a specific time, and commute. Now that our son is 4 months old, we no longer face this challenge. Although I do miss the bonding time during those night feedings, now that he mostly sleeps through the night. We had worked out a nearly perfect system before we moved past the newborn stage. On the other hand, my sister is still struggling and stuck in that phase. This has been an ongoing issue for her. She has approached me, expressing her fear of falling asleep while holding the baby and her frustration with her husband not helping with night feeds. I tried giving her some advice based on my own experience. I suggested that her partner take over in the evenings, around 6 to 9 p.m., so she can go to bed early and get a few extra hours of sleep, nap when the baby naps, and so on. However, she dismissed all my suggestions, claiming they wouldn't work for them and insisting that her partner should handle the night feedings. I reminded her that her husband commutes in the mornings, and falling asleep while driving is a real risk. I shared my own experience and assured her that she could get through it too. I even offered to watch her daughter for a few days so she could catch up on sleep. However, she took offense to both of these gestures. She accused me of belittling her and acting like a superior parent. She said I couldn't truly understand her situation or offer valuable advice since I hadn't been pregnant, and she felt like I was implying that she needed help raising her own daughter by offering to watch her. I never intended to be hurtful, and I would appreciate some outside perspective. Am I the asshole here? It's understandable that you offered suggestions and tried to empathize with her, especially since you went through a similar phase with your own child. However, it's important to recognize that every person's experience with parenting can be different, and what worked for you may not work for her. It's possible that your sister may be feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, and your suggestions might have unintentionally come across as belittling or undermining her abilities as a parent. In the future, it might be helpful to approach your sister with a more gentle and understanding tone, rather than offering solutions right away. Ask her how she's feeling, listen attentively, and let her know that you're there to support her without judgment. Sometimes, simply providing a listening ear can be more powerful than giving advice. Apologize to your sister for any offense caused, clarify your intentions, and assure her that you support her as she navigates through this challenging phase of parenthood. Am I the antagonist for cleaning out rooms and boxing up my soon-to-be ex's stuff? I have been married for 13 years. My wife has tendencies that lean towards hoarding, although she is not a full-blown hoarder. In every room, and I'm not exaggerating, there is at least one pile of mail or school paperwork. Additionally, each room has a small pile of clothing, which may or may not be dirty, including the kitchen. By the time we broke up, the master bedroom was an absolute disaster, with almost no floor space visible due to the abundance of clothing, dishes, and paper. The state of my stepson's room reflects the same hoarding tendencies, if you catch my drift. Several issues reached a breaking point recently, and my wife decided to move out. I believe this is for the best because she doesn't care about her environment or how difficult it has been for me to live in it. It's important to note that there are many unrelated problems with her child that heavily contributed to our breakup. She has been gone for 3 weeks, and I started cleaning up. In the front room, TV room, and office, I consolidated all the piles and drawers filled with garbage into bins and file boxes. I moved these bins into the front room for her to collect. Her child will need his computer, PS4, and clothes, so I bagged up all the clothes, since they were all on the floor and not in a dresser, and boxed up all the electronics and miscellaneous toys. I then swept and mopped the now empty room. In the master bedroom, I bagged up all the clothing that was scattered across the floor and consolidated all the piles of paper into bins. I neatly stacked everything on one side so I could finally sweep, mop, and live in there comfortably. We are trying to maintain cordiality, so she comes to collect her things, and I help her set up everything: network, Google devices, TV, shelves, assembling furniture, etc. Today, she came over looking for a specific notebook. However, she couldn't fully describe it and had no idea where it might have been, considering the piles of paper everywhere. When she couldn't find it, she started accusing me of being hurtful by reducing our lives to a bunch of bags and boxes. Although a part of me just needed to be able to enter a room without a mess, I had carefully boxed and labeled everything, organizing it so we would know what is in each container. She kept insisting that she should have been given time to sort through things herself. I apologized if I had hurt her and left it at that. So here's my question. It took her 13 years to even attempt going through the bins she brought into our house when we got married. Throughout those 13 years, she has shown little motivation to organize or process the piles of paper. Why should I believe that now, after we are separated, her motivation will suddenly increase? I am now living here alone. Am I in the wrong for wanting a clean and organized living environment, even if it means dealing with her belongings? It is understandable that you want a clean and organized living environment, especially considering the hoarding tendencies your ex-wife displayed during your marriage. While she may feel hurt that you took the initiative to clean up after she moved out, it seems like she did not take the necessary steps to organize her belongings during your time together. It is also worth noting that you made an effort to be cordial and help your ex-wife during the separation process, even going as far as delivering and setting up her belongings. You showed empathy and understanding, which suggests that you are not being malicious or disrespectful. Ultimately, it is your living space now, and you have the right to maintain it according to your preferences. However, it may be helpful to communicate openly with your ex-wife about your intentions and discuss any potential concerns she may have about her belongings being organized without her direct involvement. Am I the antagonist for letting my sister starve? My sister, who is 26 years old, is financially dependent on our father. Our mother passed away when we were kids, and our father is now retired. Although our dad is not wealthy, my sister has always been favored as a daddy's girl and spoiled. Unfortunately, our father has never been good with money and has even gambled away a portion of his savings. Recently, my sister got a well-paying job and moved out. However, she continues to ask our dad for money for food, claiming that her salary is not sufficient. Each month, our dad provides her with money for food. Meanwhile, she spends her salary on necessary expenses such as bills, work attire, household items, transportation, repairs, and her phone. Before she moved out, we made it clear that we wouldn't be paying for her rent. Unfortunately, her laptop broke, and she couldn't work without it. She asked our dad for help, but he couldn't afford it. Then she turned to me, explaining that she couldn't afford a new one. As a 24-year-old male, I refused to provide her with the money because she had a job and needed to learn how to budget. We didn't contribute any money towards a new laptop. Instead, she bought a MacBook using her credit card and planned to pay it off in monthly installments. However, a few months ago, she decided to resign from her job and pursue a writing career. Unfortunately, she hadn't saved any money beforehand. While she had some promising prospects from publishing houses, they wanted to review a few chapters before committing. There were no guarantees. She claimed she needed to dedicate her time to writing to make it her profession, emphasizing that she couldn't work and write simultaneously due to deadlines. Becoming a writer has always been her lifelong dream. Now she is demanding additional money for food to last the rest of the month. We declined to give her more, explaining she would have to wait until next month. This is because she spent her allocated food money on other expenses we hadn't agreed to cover, such as rent and the MacBook. She accuses us of being heartless for letting her starve while I am able to go on vacation using the money I worked hard for. She claims to have been searching for work for the past month but hasn't been successful in getting hired. Although she could move back home, she chooses not to because she dislikes our father's controlling nature. I could use some of my savings to help her, but she has a habit of consistently asking for more money each month. I fear that if I say yes this time, she will only continue this pattern instead of securing a stable job and learning to manage her finances. Additionally, I have my own bills to pay and budget to ensure I can afford my vacation. Admittedly, I still have a lot to learn about managing my money as well, so it feels hypocritical of me to solely advise her on improving her financial management skills. Am I in the wrong for allowing my sister to go hungry? It seems like she has a history of not managing her finances well and relying on your father for financial support, even when she has a good-paying job. It is understandable that you and your father have concerns about enabling her dependency and not teaching her financial responsibility. That being said, it is important to keep in mind the context and the potential consequences of your decision. While it may not make you the asshole in this situation, it is crucial to approach the issue with empathy and compassion. Communication and understanding could help you discuss her situation and encourage her to find a steady source of income or seek financial guidance to learn how to manage her money better. Am I the antagonist for not allowing my wife's cousin's family to stay over for a week with only a week prior notice, where they initially planned to stay at my wife's sister's place? My wife's cousin and her family, including her husband, 6-year-old child, newborn, and husband's mother, were visiting from Pakistan. They were staying with another cousin up north but wanted to come down to visit my wife's mother, who is currently staying with my wife's sister. My wife's sister invited them to stay at her apartment, but a week before their visit, she asked if we could host them instead since we have a larger house with 4 bedrooms compared to her 2 bedrooms. I declined because I work from home and had not planned for guests. Since we don't have any kids, it would just be me and my wife's cousin's family during the weekdays when I am occupied with work. My wife's sister said they would only need a place to sleep, as they plan to visit her house during the day. However, I am skeptical about this arrangement. Additionally, I have never met any of them before, and our house is not very child-friendly. I told my wife that if we had known about this in advance, we could have accommodated and mentally prepared for their stay. Now my wife's sister is calling me selfish and not a good guy, causing a rift between her and my wife. It's upsetting that this last-minute change of plans has affected their relationship. Moreover, my wife's birthday is coming up, and because of this situation, my wife's sister and her family have decided not to attend her birthday party, which feels like blackmail to me. I usually hesitate to invite people to stay for a week at our house, and I dislike the emotional manipulation my sister-in-law is using on my wife. Am I being unreasonable? It is completely reasonable for you to decline hosting unexpected guests, especially when it would disrupt your work schedule and you have not met the guests before. It is important to set boundaries and respect your own comfort levels. It was also considerate of you to offer to pay for an Airbnb as an alternative solution. It seems that your wife's sister is being unreasonable by trying to manipulate the situation emotionally and causing unnecessary drama. Am I the antagonist for not bailing out my sister? I am a 23-year-old female and I have a younger sister who is 18 years old. Recently, she was caught in possession of narcotics and was arrested. My sister has always been popular in high school and has made many friends. In her junior year, she befriended a troublesome individual. She just turned 18 about 4 months ago, but unfortunately, she continued to hang out with this girl and ended up associating with the entire group. I warned my sister numerous times to stop spending time with these people because I knew she would get into serious trouble. Fast forward to last week, my sister was caught on the other side of town with illegal drugs. When the police arrived, her friends abandoned her and she was left to face the consequences alone. Interestingly, my boyfriend's older brother is a police officer and he recognized my sister when she was brought into the station. He called me to inform me that my sister had been arrested for drug possession. When I finally spoke with my sister, it was difficult to understand her due to her hiccups and sobs. She told me that she had the option to pay a $650 bail or spend 30 days in a detention center since it was her first offense. I advised her that once she was released, she needed to make up the 30 days of missed school, and then I ended the call. Eventually, the station contacted our mom. My mother rushed to help her little angel. However, when my sister told our mom that I refused to pay and hung up on her, my mother became furious. My mother believed that I should never leave my sister in such a predicament. I argued that I had warned her countless times to stop hanging out with those people and find genuine friends. Unfortunately, my mom will always take my sister's side. She insisted that everyone makes mistakes and this was only her first one, and I should have supported her instead of turning my back. She also reminded me that when I had difficult times in high school, my sister was there for me. I gently reminded her that my difficult times were dealing with my first breakup and struggling with AP chemistry, not being caught with drugs. Although I could understand my mother's point about supporting my sister, I was not willing to pay a large sum of money for her mistake. Nor was I willing to take time out of my day to go get her when she was at fault in the first place. She is 18 now and should be able to recognize right from wrong. My mother is now willing to pay any amount of money to help my sister get back on the right track. I know my sister is not a bad person, but she tends to associate with the wrong crowd. Unfortunately, she seeks validation from anyone and will continue to do whatever these kids want as long as they think she's cool. My mother now refuses to communicate with me unless I apologize to my sister properly. I told her that this might be the last she hears from me, and I haven't spoken to her since. Am I the antagonist here? You warned your sister multiple times about the consequences of hanging out with the wrong crowd, but she chose to ignore your advice. It's understandable that you don't want to bail her out or enable her behavior. Your sister is 18 now and should take responsibility for her actions. Your mother's reaction seems biased and unfair, considering your sister's poor decisions led her to this situation in the first place. You have the right to set your boundaries and not be pressured into apologizing for something you didn't do wrong. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.